We've got some.
Hey, I'm Luis.
And I'm Luis.
And you're listening to the Content is Profit podcast.
We spent the last 4 years learning the strategies and techniques from some of the top marketers in the world on how to create content that turns into profit. And today, we're bringing them to you so you can take action immediately and start creating real content momentum.
If you'd like to learn more about how to turn your content into profit, go to contentisprofit.com. Oh, yeah. Let me tell you, we are in for a treat today. Today's guest is bringing the knowledge, the energy, and the experience. She has run her business for over 20 years, may I say.
Yes.
And as you can imagine, it has come with many lessons, which we'll be exploring today.
Oh, yeah. Today's awesome guest helps entrepreneurs lose weight in a sustainable way without taking time away from their business or family. Very, very important. And let me tell you, you won't find anyone as passionate as her about serving others. She is at a whole different level.
That's right. Today's guest has helped hundreds, if not thousands of people in their fitness journey. And it all started by her taking that first step and looking for solutions to her own problem.
That's right. Please welcome host of the Rhino Julie Show, owner of the Rhino Gyms, and Mudwater's #1 fan, Rhino Julie!
Yes, I have my Mudwater right here. Let's do this, BIZBROS.
Oh, we're so excited to have you here.
The screen of the audio just exploded because the amount of energy that you just came with is like, oh, it's so good. Oh my goodness. What's up, Julie? How's it going?
Man, it is a fantastic Friday. I'm ready to rock and roll. I got pumped by your intro. I'm learning things over here.
The audience is going wild too. Oh, man,
Going wild.
I think we crushed it today, Julie. Oh, it's so good.
Hey, we had to perform for you, Julie. We're like, right before we hop in here with you on StreamYard, we were just walking around the office like, head in the game. We got to get the head in the game. We got to make this work out.
Yeah.
But we're extremely thankful to have you here, Julie. And I mean, I am so excited to dive into your story and all the lessons. But before that, right, for those that are listening that might not know who Rhino Julie is, can you tell us a little bit about how this 20-year entrepreneurial journey started for you?
Well, I was 17 years old. So now you have it. I'm 37, going to be 38 this month. And I remember just thinking, I'm going to go to college. I'm going to get a job. I'm going to have insurance. And I am not going to be like my parents and my grandparents and my aunts and my uncles who were all entrepreneurs and either on top of the world or completely stressed out of their minds. Like there's no consistency to this entrepreneurial journey, right? And so, I had offers for college, full rides, like ready to go. And I started my first business. It was a little print advertising business. And my dad had a need that wasn't being fulfilled in the market for his business. And he's like, hey, Julie, you should do this. And I don't know. I was living this life of I'm going to say yes to every opportunity and I don't want to miss out on anything, like that was FOMO 20 years ago. And now we call it FOMO. And so I started this little print advertising business where I connected real estate agents with all of the different businesses that they use. And I would go directly into the realtors' offices and give them flyers and put little things in their boxes. And I was the only one doing it at the time. And then I started getting fat. I started getting fatter and fatter. So 4 years into that entrepreneurial journey, and I did go to college. I didn't graduate, but I went for like 5 years trying to learn business in college, which is not what you go to our local college for. I'm sure there's colleges that excel in that, but mine, I took an accounting class and asked what accounting system I should use for my business. And he didn't know. And I was like, well, okay. Anyways, back to this story. So I started getting fatter and fatter. And I just remember I had this client meeting and it was with Russi Bolsangiev, and he was this super intimidating guy, and my pants my skirt, it wouldn't button that morning. So I used the hair tie, and girls know what I'm talking about. Use the hair tie to like keep your skirt together. And I was wearing a jacket and I'm in Las Vegas and it's hot and I'm sweating and I'm just so miserable and so intimidated and so uncomfortable. And I was like, I can't live my life this way. So I gave all of my clients to my competitors because at that time, other people were starting to do the same thing. And I just went 100% into the fitness industry because back then there was Arnold pumping iron at the gym. There was Kung Fu and kickboxing where you actually had to hit each other. And then there was your mom's aerobics class, which is pretty cool, but it wasn't what I wanted. I wanted to go join the military to like do their boot camp, which is a terrible reason to join the military. So I didn't do that. But I started my own boot camp for civilians. And then that's what brought me to where I'm at today. And it's been a crazy journey. I had a business during the big 2001 crash, during the big 2008-9 crash, and then most recently during the pandemic. So like that 20-year span covers some pretty big, crazy world happenings as well.
Oh, man.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm impressed at how you have gone through all this and you're thriving, this and the excitement, the passion after 16 years doing the fitness industry, right? That business. It's inspiring by itself, right? Like every time we see you on screen and you're so excited and you talk about how passionate you are about this and how you want to help entrepreneurs, right? Pretty much you're helping the person that you were, right, 16 years ago when you decided to start your own fitness journey, right? And that is extremely exciting because a lot of people are often confused on like, well, I want to do something on my own, but I don't know what to do. And sometimes the answer is in your own story, right? It's like, well, look at your bag. What problem have you solved for yourself that now you're proud of, that you can share your story, relate to people, and just help them, solve their problem as well. So thank you for sharing that. I'm extremely excited. And, I'm sure there are plenty of challenges in here. But what was maybe one that stuck, to your mind? And I have many other questions. But right now, what was that first challenge that you said when you started the fitness business? That you were like, maybe I won't get out of this one. Maybe this is not for me. Should I be doing something else? Did you ever question what you were doing? Because I'm sure that there were plenty of moments like that.
So I love everything you just said, especially I'm helping myself 16 years ago and I'm helping myself 15 years ago, 14, 13, 12. There has been a health issue for my entire entrepreneurial journey because I've always put my business first. I used to. Now I put myself first. And in the last couple of years that I've done that, my business is, done better than ever, except for the pandemic. That was pretty rough on gyms. So the first year, guys, I'm overweight and I'm running a fitness boot camp for adults. And I had never been in the military and I was calling it a boot camp before you called exercise boot camp. So I was really good at making flyers and getting people excited about things in print. And I would get people out to the park and I'm wearing a little camel hat and I have my little whistle and I'm mustering up all of the excitement and courage that I possibly can. And I just see their eyes just kind of fall like, this is our fitness instructor. This is the one who's going to get us in shape. And luckily I had these two super cool guys who were in the military, helping me out and making it look legit. But it was really my thing. And we acted like they were training me, but the exercises were mine. I would go to Home Depot and get telephone poles and then we do buckets of water that we were doing relay races with. It was super fun, right? Super fun.
That's so fun.
For the whole first year, guys, guess how many clients I had for the whole first year? Guess how much money I made in gross revenue for the whole first year of my new business?
I'm gonna say in the 5 figures.
So I made $100 from one client who paid me. Everybody else came and said, what is this? This makes no sense. This is dumb. And I'm not coming back.
Wow.
But for me, I wanted it. I wanted it so bad because every day I did the workouts with them. And it was the type of working out that I wanted to do. It was a group workout. And I had some friends that I just would beg to come and it would be different people coming to make it look like it was a thing each night. And I was losing weight and I was getting in shape and I was having fun. And it reminded me of my old cross country and track days. It reminded me of being on a team and I was just desperate to keep it going. And that one client, all she could afford was $100. And that's all I charged her. And she came for a year. But knowing that one person liked it, I was like, there has to be more people. And so we decided to go to a little bit better area of town, because the area of town that I grew up in, the area of town that I had this at, you know, there was like shootings and stuff, like, you know, right down the street while we were holding our boot camp. And so we went to the better side of town, and I called up our local news stations and I said, hey, the other news station is challenging you to an obstacle course, like fitness thing. And then I told the other news station, hey, the other, you know, news station is challenging you. And Channel 3, like, and it's our local, like, it's our local news station. They believed us, and they came out and they sent a reporter for a 2-hour live shot. And so the anchor and the reporter were there for 2 hours. And I begged people. At this point, everybody was sick of my fitness boot camp. They're like, Julie, we don't want to go and make this look like it's successful when it's not anymore. But luckily, people came out. We made it look like it was a thing. And then within the first hour after that, we had 83 phone calls on my private cell phone number.
Wow.
And it's just crazy times, because and so over the next few years, I would spend over $500,000 trying to explain that it wasn't for bad kids. Stop sending us your bad kids. Everyone thought it was a boot camp for bad kids. And we had like, the first time we started getting really successful, we ended up having the big like recession. And then we started getting successful again. And then we ended up having our own government, or local governments, shut us down, even though we had permits, and start their own at the same times and locations, calling it the same name. And like, just, it seemed like every year there was these big hits that just kept on coming. But the one underlying thing was I needed the program.
Yeah.
I needed it.
Wow.
Wow, Julie. Well, Fonzie, I know you
golden
have
boulders here.
Yes. Oh, so much. The team is gonna have a blast here. Danny, I'm talking to you. So here, so much to distill here. Like, obviously, like, well, first off, gross revenue from a year, we're like, you got us there, right? Like $100. Doesn't matter. Like, you needed it, right? Like, this is so fun, right? When you enjoy the process, right? We talk about this a lot of the time. You know, we had that screen printing t-shirt like business. People were paying money, but we hated the process. It wasn't for us, right? And we're like, oh man, this is so painful. And we recently posted like this picture, and it's real, guys. But and then for you, you're like, okay, that's the fire, you know, that keeps me going. And then after that, okay, the P.T. Barnum story. I don't know if you're familiar with P.T. Barnum. Are you? Do you know who P.T. Barnum is? Yeah,
the circus guy.
Yeah. The circus guy. Yeah, it's awesome. The first musical ever that I really enjoyed.
From now on.
And but anyway, there's a book, there's a customer born every minute, I think it's called, and there's these incredible stories on how he will market. And he has this story about the Fiji mermaid, and your story of the 2 stations reminds me so much of that, because it's such a smart move. And people are like, they don't have the pelotas to go and try something like that, first off, right? Like, so I on the marketing side of things, I would love to maybe a little bit later dive in like, what was your thought process there? And you're like, I am actually going to do that's something that we call table base. I'm actually going to go ahead, ask for what I want. Let's bring him out. I mean, that generated like 83 phone calls at the time. That was incredible, right? Like, what an incredible result. So obviously, like, a lot of stuff here. And I see you like as this like fitness supergirl mixed with like marketing superwoman and all these business stuff. Like, you're like, you have all these elements, right? And it's so exciting to hear your stories, because it's been 20 years of this, implementing, executing, going back. And at the end of the day, what you said, your message is that it goes back to me, is what I needed. And, you know, a lot of entrepreneurs out there might be having that same thought process, right? Why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? And I bring it back to our own story with publishing, right? It's the same thing. We started the podcast for us, right? We started the show in the middle of the pandemic. Like, as soon as we lost like 80% of our business, we're like, this is the thing that we got to do. Let's get a message out. Let's connect with amazing entrepreneurs. And it turned into this sort of not only therapy, but relationship building, like incredible learning experiences with incredible entrepreneurs like you, right? So we need this show. This is why we do it live every 3 times a week. People are like, whoa, man, that's a lot. Like, I don't care. we need it. This like drives us forward, especially when we meet people like you. So I want people to relate to that. Like if you're listening or watching right now, what you're doing is the thing that you need. Are you so passionate that you're going to go and literally go to a news station and be like, hey, they're challenging you. So FONZI, we got to do that. We're like, hey, this station, they challenge you for a podcast episode. They challenge you for the podcast competition. Let's do this.
Yeah, we got to figure something out like that.
Yes.
Julie, I love the fact, you know, where we started this part of the conversation, which is you're trying to help people solve that problem that you had 16 years ago. But then you're like, I want to work out the way I want to work out, right? And you were doing your own fun workouts, right? Keeping it exciting. And I love that, right? Because I'm trying to put that into perspective on our business, right? And I think part of our business now is that too, is we want to publish the way we want to publish, right? Like we want to make it fun for us and entertaining. We know the value of it, right? But why there's so much resistance for other people, the same as there was for us, and you know what we can do to remove that and make people enjoy their process. So I love what you're saying in here, and I'm just so curious because it seems like you're this type of person that you're not afraid of being rejected, of telling you no, right? Because you're calling these media places and telling them all these things, right? You are someone that it's always it seems like you're always taking action, right? And you mentioned that you were raised by entrepreneurs as well, right? A family of entrepreneurs. What do you think helps you, right? Not be afraid of fear of rejection? Or I might be mistaken, right? Maybe you have that fear too, but you still take action, right? Like why? And the reason I'm asking this is because a lot of people that are trying to build their business, they are not taking action in the most important things because there's that layer of fear in between, right? So how can they move past that?
So first of all, I think one of my personal superpowers when I started my fitness business was I hadn't been a member of anybody else's. And I'd gone to 24-hour fitness a couple times with my mom, and she bought me like the $12 a month family package, but I didn't like it, so I didn't go, right? And I think just me starting what I needed and not looking at what anybody else was doing. And of course, this was kind of pre-internet, so it was a little bit easier. But that really helped me just develop what I wanted to do. And regarding the fear of rejection, let me tell you a little bit about my amazing upbringing. So my parents and my grandparents, entrepreneurialism goes like this, right? And by up here, I mean, we're doing well financially, and down here means we're not sure how we're going to get the food to eat next week, right? And when I was being raised after 5 years old, we were at the bottom. And then my parents went back up again after I left the house. So being raised kind of super poor, and then and by super poor, I mean, my dad was so awesome. He never asked for anything from anybody else. We always were taken care of. But there was a time where we didn't have an oven, we didn't have floors because Dad built our own house, but he couldn't finish it. And he's just amazing and adorable. But anyways, rejection, let's go back there. So I was raised in a super awesome religion that you don't find these types of religions anymore. It's still around. My parents are still in it. It's awesome. But I take things 100%. I take it to the next level. So my parents are just normal people, being normal people, doing normal people things. I was like, I'm going to save everybody's souls. And I am going to dress the part. So I would wear the long dresses and the hair in a bun, because the elders in the church and the ministers, that's what they preached. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it. My parents didn't make me, but I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. And we had this 83-year-old minister come to the house, and he took me under his wing, and we knocked on doors and tried to sell Jesus and God. And by we, I mean, he would be at the curb and he would shoosh me along, and I would go up to the door and I would knock on it. And more often than not, first of all, we're in a poor neighborhood. Anyone in Las Vegas, I went to Fremont Middle School. That's right. You can't hurt me. You know the middle school I went to. And not only that, I did it wearing long dresses and my hair up in a bun. So yeah, I'm not afraid of anything. And I just remember knocking on the door of the most popular girl in school. And I had to say my spiel. And yeah, and I ate lunch in the bathroom, because we'll just say that there were some people that would steal my lunch just about every day. And so after that, it's I don't know. You know,
Wow.
like you can't touch. Like I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, what do you got? You have some words for
love
me?
it.
Oh man.
Yeah. Wow. You know, I'm relating this to something I read this morning. It's called I forgot the name of the book. Right? Sorry, book. But it's about this consulting company called IDEO. They're huge in New York, and they work in this very creative solutions for problems. Right? And the phrase that I read today that stuck the most was courage is taking consistent small steps, right? And that is literally what you're describing right now. It's a series of small steps that you took so you could get rid of that fear of rejection, right? For you, it seems like it was door to door selling Jesus, right? Like you're selling to people. So I think it's absolutely amazing because that is right there with that story. You literally share with people a little guide, a tiny guide on how they can get, you know, they can get rid of that fear, and just by taking small actions. So make a plan, right? What is that goal that you want to do? So for example, right now for us is sales, right? And we are in the same sales mastermind. And how can we do those consistent small steps? Is that prospecting, right? Those sending those messages daily. And I feel the more we get rejected, right, is like, you know what? It's not that bad. My life still goes on, right? I can still get to connect with awesome people. Like nothing really changes if people say no. The other part of the question is, it seems like you really don't care at all what people think about you, which is absolutely amazing.
Let me just say, I really have a trigger when I'm falsely accused. I do. Right. So people can. I've had people too. I've been punched in the face before, actually more than once, and that didn't bother me. Being told like to my face anything doesn't bother me. Private messages, whatever. But when someone who doesn't even know me says, "Oh, all she cares about is this and this," like. Those things still affect me, and I like that's a constant work in progress. And I have to just tell you guys something. This is really important, I think, for everybody to hear. Is that now where I'm at in my life, I love everybody to be free to do whatever they want, and I believe in love, and I just believe everyone should go their own way. And growing up, like I had, you know, we all have some mental problems, right? Mm-hmm. And I was scared. I was driven by fear. So I was trying to save people who didn't need to be saved because I was scared. And so my actions growing up and the things that I was selling growing up, it was fear driven. And that was something I put on myself. My parents aren't like that. My brothers are perfectly normal human beings, but I just I take everything a little too far sometimes. And so now it's driven by love. Like, what do you need? How can I help you? And, you know, let me keep asking questions until we give you the power to kind of figure it out for yourself. And so I used to be this like bulldozer forcing my own fear on other people. And now I would like to think that the things I'm doing is out of love. And when you're selling that way, it's not selling, you know.
I want to dig. Sorry,
can I talk today?
Let me ask you
because like FONZI's show and Julie's show. That's fine. It's okay.
I just want to dig a little bit deeper into this one.
Credits for okay, hold on before you dig deep, because I have this comment from the last thing that she said. I think it's super important because I want to bring it out to the audience. Okay,
all right, go ahead.
Julie, it's a live show. I mean, this is what's happening. Okay, so here's the thing, and this is why this point I want to highlight before we dig deep into this. I feel is also super important. But the thing is, like, we frame like we have these references, of experiences, right, in the past, like the one that the door-to-door sale that you have, right, versus the stuff that we're doing today. Sometimes because if they're not on the same field, we don't relate those. So I'm going to give you an example. For example, I finished like an 8-hour race and a 24-hour race. I did the world's toughest mudder, right, in Atlanta at 32-degree freezing cold, whatever. Like FONZI was amazing in the pit crew, right? But that physical experience to me became an anchor, right? For now, on my day-to-day, if I'm going through a really like rough patch, I'm like, man, like I don't feel like I can do this, which is literally sending a message or sending an email to somebody or sending it, like talking to a prospect of somebody said no, I immediately go back to my mental space of the second I complete my 24-hour, because that was such a huge achievement physically, right, and mentally, right? I'm like, wow, if I was able to do that, then I can do this, right? So sometimes, because it is a different environment, sometimes we don't make that connection. But I just wanted to highlight this, because we can find those connections in those experiences, right? Remember how you felt like, and you're like, man, like that was a lot of work, that was intense, that was a lot of fun too. But at the same time, okay, if I was able to do that, now I can, you know, do my outreach, do my publishing, go talk to that client, go face that conversation, right? And I think it's super important. And the fact that you related to that story on the door, it says door to door. We never did door to door. Well, kinda in like Happy Feet, we sold like school to school. It was different. But anyways, but those experiences help us, you know, execute moving forward. That's it. That's all the parentheses I want to say.
All right, my turn again. My turn again.
I haven't really connected that though, so I actually want to tell you, this is my first time ever talking about that, and this is my first time actually connecting that. So, and I actually feel more confident. Oh, look at you. I actually feel more confident after you just said that and the connection happened. So that was a good interruption between the two of us, this conversation. So. Oh,
thank you. Awesome. Yeah, I think you just picked a bro. Thank you. Thank you,
Julie. Julie, he's obsessed with this competition of pick a bro. But yeah, we're going to go that way. But Julie, all right, back to the other question. I'm curious, what happened that made you transition from that fear space to that love space, right? Because I think there's so much in there to unpack. And the reason I'm asking is because for us, when we started our business, we literally started in this place of need, right? And I think this place of need was fear-based as well, now that you mention it. And, you know, we weren't doing things for the right reasons. And we, you know, went into a place that we weren't enjoying doing what we had to do. So I'm extremely curious for what took your place to transition from that place of fear to that place of serving with love.
The answer is the same as my happiness answer, actually. Like, because when I lost weight, I still wasn't happy. And that was a big, like, I thought that once I lost weight, everything would just be fixed, but I actually still wasn't eating healthy and I still wasn't taking care of myself. And so the transition between unhappiness to happiness to me is the same from fear to love. And that's loving myself. And it's something that I always was annoyed when I heard people talk about loving ourselves. Like most of my 20s was spent driving really, really hard towards what I wanted and being annoyed when people talk to me about things like meditation, loving yourself, personal growth. I'm like, I'm nice to everybody all the time. And I always put on a happy face. Like, I don't think I need any of that stuff. And that stuff is what helped me make that transition, because when we're able to sit in silence, just with ourselves, not even with a guided meditation process, but just, I sit in silence every morning and I just sit there and I look at birds outside my window. And you can't do that. Well, I couldn't do that when I was super unhappy with myself and when I didn't love myself. And it sounds crazy, but it's really nutrition that was the difference. I only started eating healthy a few years ago. Like I didn't eat healthy. I would push my body. I did the 24-hour rucks and all of the crazy things so that I could eat pancakes and Philly cheesesteaks and pizza and soda and whatever I wanted, because I'm a foodie. I love food so much. And when I started adding, so I do not practice restriction, I don't teach it, but when I started adding the things that I needed to support my body, the fog in my brain lifted. All of a sudden I had energy. All of a sudden I wanted to solve problems in my business. I love inventing new things and working on new things, but I ran from problems. Like, I mean, so I started my business 20 years ago. Guess when I first did my taxes? 6 years after I started my business. Everything's up to date and good now, but I'm just saying, like, I would run from the things that I didn't like. I would literally hide from them. And so eating healthy and taking care of my body kind of as a temple instead of just punishing it for what I would eat, that was the big changer. And sleeping enough. I used to teach 5 a.m. classes. And there was a time where I used to wake up at 2:30, pull all the trailers to the different locations in town where I had the outdoor boot camps because the coaches didn't have trucks to pull the trailers. Then I would teach my own 5 a.m. class and I would be working all day, and then go to bed late. And you're just driving yourself into the ground. And it's really hard not to be scared and have the fear and make the wrong decisions when you don't have time and clarity,
Wow.
That's very powerful. Yeah. Do you feel that's necessary, like going through those moments? We've had these conversations in the past with a few people, right? And at some degree, like we've lived it. It's not as extreme as waking up at 2:30 in the morning, right? Like, but we feel like there's a hustle that happens. There's a thing that, for example, me mentally, like there's always stuff to do, right? So I'm like, okay, should I, we talked about this a little bit before the show, right? Like I'm trying to limit, right, my working day. And my way of doing it is with these 2 workouts, like in the morning and the afternoon. And I'm trying to stick to it the best I can. But at the same time, right, like, is there a stage in the entrepreneurial journey, right, the one that you're telling, that is that really necessary? Is that like going through those late nights, going through like this thing? And if it is, like, how can we control it a little bit better? Or if it's not, like, how do we get there, right? Because I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs in their journey, that's a stage that is pretty common, right? And I'm trying to figure out, is it the lack of information about that specific time? Because is the hustle like culture, like, is everybody telling you gotta hustle, you gotta work really hard, right? Like, let's redefine hard. What is it? Is it being effective? Is it great communication with your team? Is it using leverage? Is it like smart eating? Like, is it healthy eating? Like, what is it, right? Like, in your opinion, is it necessary? Or if it's not, like, how can we, start creating that structure to be sustainable?
It really depends on what we want. And I think that I had so much mental anguish at the time over some personal things that I didn't want a single second of me to myself where I could think about where I was at. So I feel like I chose all of these new shiny things. Like, we put on 100 obstacle course in the middle of the desert back in 2000. It was before like the big Tough Mudders and the Spartans. And it was a miserable failure because it was way too hard. Nobody was able to actually like complete all the obstacles except like my brothers. And by the way, when you said pick a biz bro, I have 3 brothers and I'm perfectly happy to add 2 more. Okay.
Yeah, let's go. The crowd agrees. The crowd agrees. Okay.
But most of the things that I've done in my entrepreneurial life were completely unnecessary and didn't get me to where I'm at today. They just made it take a lot longer. Like, had I been careful and had I consistency, I was never consistent. Like, never. I never hired properly before. Now we do. We have everything in order. Over the last 5 years, I went deep into business. I became a business mentor. I'm like, I'm going to do things right. But before that, I would just hire my friends with, very little training, because I'm like, if I can do it, anybody can do it. Like, this isn't that hard type thing. And it was my decisions that resulted in the late nights, in being understaffed. It was mostly the biggest mistake I've made is underpricing. And then it was impossible to run the business properly. And then there would always be problems because it was impossible to run it properly. And doing Groupons back in the day, we have the award for the most Groupons for a fitness business, I think, ever sold in a day, which is 2,121. And I have my brother answering a cell phone. And you get 2,000 new clients in a day. Like, how do you think that's going to go? And I'm surprised. Like, most people had a very positive experience with us, but I'm surprised because like that's $27 for a month of, our services, and we're taking care of all these people. And so I blame everything on myself. But going back to the hustle, it depends on what we want. If we want to be with our families, and we want to have that kind of life, then how much money do we need? Like, what are we hustling for? Are we hustling for the ego, or are we hustling so that we work really hard for a year and then the rest of the years we can kind of ease back? But I think the biggest lie that I ever believed was that I could build my businesses up and step out.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's so good. Julie, thank you. I mean, it comes down to a choice, right? It's our own choice. And I love this answer so much because over the last 2 weeks, we've been like pretty intentional on how what are the next steps on the business, right? Like for pre-COVID, we had this profile of customers, right? COVID happened, 80%, closed doors. So we're like, okay, we can't execute for you, right? Then after COVID, like the show starts, right? And the product that we have for the brick and mortar is kind of adapted, and it's been catching fire. Is really doing really good, right? But now we're in a place where it's like obviously building the systems, the team, and everything in the back end, right? And people know this. It's taxing, right? On my side, at least, people define me as the integrator, right? Like FONZI is that dreamer guy, great ideas, right? And then how can we implement those two together? And over the last 2 weeks, I feel we've been very consistent thanks to our mentor Jerry. Like this guy, like has worked with amazing companies, and obviously connecting with people like you, Julie, right? It's like, okay, they're at that level, right? How can we get to that level? And it goes back to our own choices. So personally, for me, right, it goes back to my family, my kid. I have Luca. He's 2 years old. I want to spend time with him. I want to go, see him play soccer and go to the beach and camping. And I'm a Jeep person, so I want to take the Jeep places, right? Fonzie wants to travel. He wants to do it. And we had a conversation a little bit. The seed was planted. It's like, how do we take this show on the road if we ever want to be on the road? Like, is it sustainable this way? Should we change different things? And then going from there, now it's making us make these decisions to make sure that it's sustainable over time. So that's why I was very curious, and it comes down to our choice. It's like, really, what do we want, right? So I freaking love it. Thank you so much for bringing all your experience and your incredible wisdom.
Yeah. Can I talk about employees just real quick?
Oh, yeah,
absolutely.
Definitely. You can talk about whatever you want, Julie.
Yes, and this goes great because lately we're talking about the modern media team, right? So in the last discussions that we've had, on Clubhouse, on the group, on the 45 Live group, it's been around this. And yeah, please go ahead. We've been geeking out and showing, and even with our own team. So please,
because you want to collapse timeframes, right? You want to be able to get more done in less time. So that definitely means hiring people, and you guys have already done that. And I don't know why it literally took at least 15 years to figure out the hire slow, fire fast thing. Like, why does it take so long to do that? And I think it's because by the time we do hire somebody to take some of those tasks that we don't have to be doing, we're desperate for them. We've taken on too much. And by the time we actually hire them, we don't have time, or we're so burnt out that we just tell them once, oh, you need to do this. And then we just leave them. And then we're upset because everything's not being done right. But we don't have the accountability chains and the systems in place. And so that's the biggest thing I've learned is repetition when it comes to training and taking our time when it comes to hiring. And then that's how, like, if I asked you, can you be successful in a 40-hour week? Of course.
Absolutely. Probably less too.
Yeah. Maybe 30, right? But we can't if we're, if we end up spending our time on things that are unnecessary. And then all of us go through the motivation issues, right? So we start our day and we have this block of time to get all these super cool things done. And we end up doing who knows what. Like, we don't even know what we did, but we didn't do the things. And it's because we had just one of those days. And entrepreneurs, we're not allowed to have one of those days if we don't want to work 100-hour weeks. Like, everything has to be effective. And you know what the best way is to get motivated for your day and to be effective?
Mulled water.
Okay, so BIZBROS, without celebration, there is no motivation. Yeah. So we literally celebrate our wins. We celebrate what we've already done. And then that's how we're motivated to continue, both in fitness and nutrition and in business. So if you ever have a 3 o'clock in the afternoon time where you have 2 hours left to get a bunch of stuff done, but you just want to go take a nap, list the stuff you already did that day, and all of a sudden you'll be motivated to finish out those 2 hours and just crush it.
Yes.
Wow. I like it. I like it. Without celebration, there is no motivation. I wrote it down and everything. Yeah.
Julie, you just brought it back together because we talked about this the other time, and I've been managing. I created this weekly framework that works for me personally, right? Like, I was like, and I needed to see the thing that I was getting done, right? So literally, it's breaking down in 10-minute slots, and in each of those 10-minute slots, I put an activity, right? that I need to finish. And then if it rolls down, it rolls down. But normally I try to finish it in those 10 minutes, right? There's tasks, obviously, like the show that is like more 10 minutes, like six blocks. But literally, as soon as I get it done, is a green check right next to it, right? And there's obviously a ton of tools. I'm doing it on my sheets. That's the system that works for me. And like what you just said, I went back to my previous 2 weeks that I've been implementing this, and that's exactly what happened, because I'm looking at that and I see all the green checks and I'm like, I got it done. This is so good. Let's crush. So thank you for putting it into words. And I encourage everybody listening, go ahead. Like if it's for your business, if it's for your publishing, put them down, celebrate your wins, celebrate what you do with your team, with yourselves, and continue to execute.
Yeah, it's so easy to get discouraged. Sorry, Julie, I think you were going to say something.
I was just going to say, you know what the best way to make sure that you don't stay motivated is?
What is it?
Don't celebrate.
It's to pick things that you can't possibly get done and starting with things that are too big. And so if you have those things that you're going to get done every 10 minutes, but they're too hard or they're too big, this is what makes most people fail on their health and fitness journey, is that they're like, I'm going to be perfect. I'm going to work out an hour a day. I'm going to download this meal plan on the internet and we're going to meal prep and we're going to cook it. And then they fail after the first or the second day. And then their vegetables go bad in the refrigerator. And then they're just sad. And then they just don't do anything. And so I'm going to let you guys lead this wherever you want. But before we got on, we talking about you guys and what we can do with your nutrition. And I think we can do a living example of this.
Yes,
absolutely.
I love this. Before we dive there, I just wanted to make a quick comment real quick on the topic of celebrating. We are so quick to discourage yourself and look at the negatives. And I think that's just like a human trait, honestly. So keeping records of things that we do is extremely important. And I go back to the author of Good to Great, Jim Collins. I listened to an interview that he did with Brené Brown. And yes, I love that book. It's amazing. Yeah. I just got his new one, Beyond Entrepreneurship 2.0. So I haven't read it yet. Supposedly it's incredible. But this interview that he did with Brené Brown, he was talking about how he started a system where every day he rates himself from 2 to -2, right? So if he did good that day, he'll put a 2. If it was all right, he'll put 0, and you get the point, right? So on days that he feels super low and he's like, oh man, like I haven't done anything, I haven't been productive, what he does is he goes back to the spreadsheet and he looks at the numbers and he's like, actually, I just had one bad day in the last 2 weeks. Look at all the other days that I've been doing good things. You know, maybe I'm being too harsh with myself. I'm just going to take it easy today, maybe rest, collect my thoughts, and then move forward the next day. And I think that is so important, and we don't look at it that way. And I'm guilty of that. I'm very guilty of that. I've been trying to actually implement, I have it in my calendar as Win the Day, which is a section of the day at the end of the day where I just go through my calendar, see what I did, what I need to do for next day, right? Kind of like that celebratory space in my life. And I haven't been consistent with it, right? And the days that I do it, I feel good. The days I don't do it, I'm like, I don't. Sometimes I feel good, sometimes I don't, right? It's like very, very flimsy. So it's so important, right? It's so important to do it and to stay consistent with those tasks. And I love the fact that you get that pointer that you gave us, that is keep those tasks doable. Sometimes we just set these huge goals, huge tasks in a framework, in a time we cannot get done. And then we're just setting ourselves literally for not being successful. So thank you for sharing that. Now we can transition into the meal if you want.
No, you opened up something else. We just have to talk about this really quick. When we don't celebrate, what?
We're gonna have to do part 2 at some point.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Oh, okay, I'll be less than 30 seconds. Okay.
Oh, no. Go as long as you want.
We got time. I'm just saying, there's so much to share and unpack, and then we should just do a whole thing on the thing that you want to do, and you
whole
do
Rhino
Julie season. Yeah.
Oh man, that would be amazing. This is so much more fun than the shows that I do. I don't know if it's because there's 2 of you, or if it's the horn or the music. I don't know what it is, but this is amazing.
It's the horn and the awesome guest, Julie.
Well, thank you.
If it was FONZI on the other side, it would be a different story. I don't know how would that turn out?
Yeah, I love how competitive brothers are. So, guys, before I forget, if we don't celebrate the wins, this is really important. We're literally training our subconscious to seek out the failures, because that's all we're doing is we're like, oh, I didn't get the big thing done, so I'm a failure. And when we celebrate the wins, we train our subconscious to seek out those same habits that we just celebrated. And it's the secret to success is consistency and duration.
Yes.
And consistency and duration is always going to be a fight if we're constantly hard on ourselves for what we're not doing. And this is what I work with my nutrition clients on too. It's like, we have to start with something that we know we're going to get done every single day, and we're going to celebrate the heck out of it. And then our subconscious is going to want more of those wins, more of those hits, right? And then all of a sudden we're going to be motivated without forcing ourselves to be motivated to do those little consistent things. But if all we say is, I didn't make the $1 million yet, or I didn't do this big thing yet, or I don't have, whatever we think we don't have, we are just working on the little baby part of our brain that's in the here and now, and we're just like crushing the soul of our subconscious.
Absolutely. I love that, what you mentioned about if we don't celebrate, we're training our subconscious to want to fail, right? And it's critical, right? We don't pay attention to the subconscious, which like leads 90% of our life. And you just remind me of this research that has been done. His name is Dr. BJ Fogg, and he wrote a book about tiny habits. It's called Tiny Habits. You have it in there too.
You're like our lost sister.
Yeah. So this book was awesome because first, you always have the people saying like, you need 60 days to develop a habit. And when I read this book, and he's like, that's not true, bro. You just need a right system to do it. And you need to start with those minimum viable actions, right? Those minimal viable steps. That was eye-opening because like, wow, I can literally set a habit, a positive habit, but all you got to do is start small. And to, circle back to what we said before, courage is taking consistent small steps. And to develop these habits, you need to be courageous, right? You're stepping into the unknown. And sometimes we feel we're courageous because we're taking on this goal and taking these big actions, but we're just setting ourselves for failure, right? We need to, and I'm sure you're gonna have a reaction here, but it's like we need to build it in a sustainable way, right?
Yes, that is the basis of business, like our daily habits for business and our daily habits for health and fitness. It's not about what type of diet we do. It's not about what program we take or what business book we read. Are the habits that we're trying to implement, are they sustainable and are they adherable? Because if they're not sustainable and adherable, it doesn't matter what course we're taking, it doesn't matter what we're trying to build, we're never ever going to get there. It could be the right thing, but it's not the right thing for us, or it's not the right thing to start out with. I love that you said that. So far, our books are matching up, and this is
it's pretty impressive.
It's a sign. It just took us 20 years to meet you, Julie. You're saying.
I know. Hey, it's the right moment. It all happens for a reason and at the best time. So I'm so happy it happened. Now, Julie, we can transition to the meal part if you want, right?
Yes. Okay, we're going to do this live on the air. You guys said that we could.
Yeah,
so
let's go.
We're going to figure out your next one thing for each of you guys to implement. But first, this is so important. We're going to celebrate what have you already been doing to support your body and your brain to be able to run your business and be there mentally and physically for your family and, for your future. What have you already been doing?
Okay, so we talked about starting the 75 hard. I think that's pretty intense for a lot of people. That there's a whole reason we can talk about that later. But a small thing, well, not a small thing. It's my gallon water bottle, because I didn't realize how much water I wasn't drinking until I started doing this. And clearly I'm way behind. Where it's like 7 a.m. and it's like 1 p.m. So I gotta start chugging. But the visual to me helps me big time, because that was what would happen. Like it would be like 1 p.m. and I didn't have any water. and then I'll just drink 1 cup and that's it. And then I was like feeling crappy all day. So my win is that I've been consistent drinking more than 1 gallon of water every single day.
That's awesome.
And that is
awesome.
amazing, guys. Water feeds your brain, and it also lubricates your joints, and it also helps flush your body out. It helps you live longer. It helps prevent all kinds of diseases. So it's a big deal. Look at me starting.
I know we're gonna need BIZBROS and Rhino Julie co-branded 1 gallon water bottles. Just saying.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Yeah.
I don't know how people run a business when they don't drink enough water, because literally your brain is foggy and it is not working as well as it should. So big time celebration for you. Okay, BizBro. I was going to call you BizBro number 2, and I was like, I better not do that.
BizBro number 2.
BizBro number 2 is next.
It's okay. So, I mean, if it's because of the order that we were born, then you are very correct, Julie. So my win is that for the last 2 weeks, I've stayed pretty consistent with the workouts, right? And I've been actually, I love learning new stuff. So I've been and a lot of times I start learning some stuff and then I'm like, I'm bored, and I put it away, and then I just move into like different thing. So I am excited that I've been very consistent with learning how to play tennis, right? I'm like going on my own, I'm practicing, I'm playing with other people.
You want to know the real truth to that?
Okay, here goes the competition again.
Is that he lost against me, and he can't live with that, and so that's fine.
No,
you know,
it's okay. In the overall matches, we're 1-1. I beat him the first one, he beat me the second one. The next one will be the defining for bragging rights. So it's all good.
I'm retired.
My celebration is that I've been more consistent with that, and I mean, I feel it has helped in other aspects of trying to go to sleep a little bit earlier too, which is super important. That's one of my biggest ones. I need to go to sleep early. For example, yesterday I failed because I had a super late soccer game. I didn't get home till like 11 p.m. But still, I'm celebrating because I've done it consistently for the last 2 weeks. So let's go.
Yes, I absolutely love it. So exercise, there's no horn. That is helping you get to bed earlier. It is helping you get more quality sleep. But exercise, that's what I always start with all of my clients, because it helps with everything. It helps us live longer. Again, back to the brains. It helps our brains work better. It helps us just be not so grumpy as well. Like, it literally helps fight depression and us just feeling down. So here's the thing. You guys are doing 75 hard. I want to congratulate you on doing tennis because you enjoy it. It's so important for people to find something that they enjoy. But here's the thing. You guys have been athletes your whole lives. You're probably a little bit addicted to the pain, the suffering, the soreness. For anybody who's listening who is not addicted to that, it is okay to start with 30 seconds a day of something. Holding a plank for 30 seconds. Doing as many squats as you can for 30 seconds. It is okay to walk your dog and do a squat every time they stop to sniff something, which you know is a lot. Like, just starting with something that you know beyond a shadow of a doubt you can do, then all of a sudden your subconscious, especially when you celebrate the fact that you did it every day, is going to be seeking that out. And then all of a sudden you're going to be motivated to do more. So it's not starting out like, I'm going to go to the gym for an hour a day. It's, I'm going to start with 30 seconds. And then it's going to naturally go up from there. So that is awesome. We celebrated your wins. Now I want to do the next little phase, is saying, what are your goals? And I'm going to help you figure out the one next habit that you can implement. Does that sound okay with you guys?
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, who's going first?
Fonzie can go first, but before he goes first, I want to highlight the fact that what you're saying here, I'm preaching, and I love it. Also, by the way, I don't know if you knew this, but I also come from the fitness industry a little bit. I used to run Orange Theory Fitness Studio, so probably your competition or not, maybe. So you're probably like,
I don't think OTF is a competition.
No, there's no
competition. Our competition is being on the treadmill, for 30 minutes, and then doing something very similar every day. If that was my competition, you guys would be. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
By the way, I'm not. They're awesome. I loved it. But anyways,
I actually love Orange Theory.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, thank you. They have a special place in my heart. But we need to go experience your boot camps.
Yes.
And your locations. We've heard awesome things. We've had previous guests on the show that have gone to your locations, by the way. So yeah, we might have to chat afterwards. But anyways. So yeah, I just wanted to highlight that, and the fact that what you are doing is removing the friction from execution, right? It's like, how can we like remove as much friction so we can actually operate? So I'll let Fonzie go, and then I'll go.
We're talking about personal goals.
Yes, yeah. What is your big like personal goal, and then we're gonna bring it down to the one next thing, like the most important habit that you can do to achieve that goal.
Are we talking about? Because you know, this
in the fitness, in fitness.
Are we talking? Yeah, are we talking about fitness or like life overall?
No, fitness. No, don't go to the life overall, Fonzie. Like, we'll stay here for 4 hours.
Fitness, health. Like, it could be having more energy. It could be like it has to be something that like you're really passionate about when it comes to your health. It could be chasing after your grandchildren and great grandchildren when you're 90.
All right, perfect. Yeah, so I want more energy, right? But I want to be able to keep playing sports, soccer, tennis, whatever sport you are, until I'm old and extremely old.
Okay, I love it. So I mean, obviously the stretching and all of that, but that is honestly secondary to fueling your body. So are you getting enough food for this goal? Are you getting enough protein for this goal? Are you drinking enough water? Are you eating enough vegetables? Like, what are you doing now to support this goal? Because literally what we put in our bodies is what keeps our joints moving. And like, if we eat enough protein, that is partially what helps us not break a hip when we're 50, you know, in the bathtub shower.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I do think I eat plenty of protein, right? I mean, I eat eggs when I wake up, and after I work out, I have protein shake. I always eat. I try to have protein in every meal. I am pretty bad at my timing at eating. If you ask my girlfriend, she's like, "You're horrible," because I have dinner like at 9 p.m. Sometimes yesterday I had dinner after my soccer game like at 11 p.m. My timings for eating are all over the place.
I feel that's also a cultural thing, because at home, like, we will eat dinner pretty late.
We grew up eating dinner late, but I would say my eating is fairly healthy. Do I need more greens? My girlfriend would say definitely yes. I need to eat more greens in my life. But I stay pretty conscious. I eat very similar every single day. Like, I'm not a person that goes and explore his like chef ability. I'm like, this is easy, is healthy. I'm gonna just make it and eat it. And I'm trying to be more conscious of when I go eat outside, eating the healthy stuff.
Okay, so I would always be concerned about you under eating, especially as an athlete. Like, go eat whatever you want at the restaurants. Just add the vegetables. I eat 3 cups of broccoli at 10:30 a.m. every day because I don't like vegetables and I'm working anyways. So I just eat it. I put it in the microwave plain and I just eat it. And then my vegetables are done. And then the rest of my meals, I have proteins, fats, and carbs, which I absolutely love. So the fact that you want more energy means that you're either not getting enough sleep, not drinking enough water, or not getting enough fuel. And so I would practice awareness. I would start tracking in something like MyFitnessPal, just for a couple days and see what the numbers actually are on your proteins, your fats, your carbs. It shows your micronutrients. Like, and if that is a small habit that you could do for a few days, then after that, you can look at the data and say, okay, I'm going to eat 3 cups of broccoli like Julie at 10:30, or I'm not getting enough sleep, or I'm not drinking enough water. And so I would figure out one of those things. But just like in business, data and metrics, that is what shows us what to work on.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I don't trust you. Like, I don't trust that you're getting enough food. I didn't mean to say I don't trust you. I don't trust that you're getting enough food. So if you could commit to tracking it, that would be amazing, just for a few days.
Awesome. Yeah, that sounds like a great idea. I do think sometimes I undereat. My issue though. I cannot have broccoli. I don't know why. Like I love. Don't get me wrong. I love broccoli.
I would die.
I
in
love
the
broccoli.
office. Like Julie,
Yes. It's so bad on my stomach. It's like so bad.
He gets kicked out to a coffee shop. That's why you see him on the coffee shop all the time.
Because I ate broccoli.
Yes.
Do whatever vegetables that you like, but start with the awareness. And by the way, it's okay to eat late at night. That was a myth that's been busted. Like eat whenever, but I just wouldn't go, too long without eating just because food is fuel for your brain, Yeah. That's all.
Yeah, I cannot. Sometimes I do go long without eating when I'm like in the zone doing something, but yeah, I like eating. I enjoy eating.
So let's practice awareness for you, whatever that looks like. Just start with awareness. It's logging it. And then I want you to pick the one next thing that you can do beyond a shadow of a doubt, even if it's going to bed 15 minutes earlier, even if it's water, like even if it's more vegetables, even if you log your food and you're like, oh, I am under on my protein because it's 0.8 grams per kilogram of protein every single day for our body weight. Yep. So like it's more a lot of times than we think. But BIZBRO number one, he knows that. He worked in Orange Theory. I do love Orange Theory. One of my best friends goes to Orange Theory, actually. Yeah, you guys just got me in an argumentative, competitive nature on this show.
It's a whole different workout, right? Like it's a whole different thing.
We'll do a live episode from one of your gyms one day.
Yeah, let's go. Oh, that'll be fun. The reason it means so much to me because that was the only thing. And again, for me, it was about removing the friction. And since I was there, I was executing, right? And love the freaking coaches, love everything. And they got me ready for the 24 hours, for the 8-hour race. That was what I was doing at the time. So literally, that was the only thing that I did. It got me ready for my first marathon. So it's an emotional attachment, right? So I need to get back to it. So Heath, if you're watching or listening to this, give me the membership. Anyways, Heath is like the regional here where we live in Jacksonville. He's part of the 45 Lives too. So shout out.
Nice.
So you guys should connect. Anyways,
I was gonna say, are you avoiding your goal?
Huh? No. Here he goes. Okay, so a little bit of backstory, right? D1 athlete. I play soccer too. My 4 years. So I always never really had to work on because the friction was already removed from me because I was part of the program. Right before that, same thing. Growing up, we were training every single day. Right. So what's happening then? Right after that, Orange Theory happens. So I'm still in the environment. Right. So now I'm out of the environment for the past year and a half. So my initial goal. You want long-term goal or my initial goal?
What your goal is currently, yeah.
Currently, it's literally get back in the habit of moving every single day. Because for almost a year, we played soccer here and there, but it was almost non-existent, right? So I need to get back into moving. That's why I chose the heart reset of 75 hard. So maybe also I'm addicted to that kind of activity, and I just need to move it. To me, I learned that that's how I execute. I need to put a lot of pressure in me to be able to do it. So that's why. So that's my first time is get moving. So for the first 75 days, I think I'm on day 11. That I said day 75, I'm going to revisit what the next stage is to continue with that movement a little bit more. So with that, it comes to eating, making sure that my water, making sure that I'm feeling my body to be able to support that. So
I do want to know your big goal. What are you exercising every day for?
Yes, that's good. And I think that's a question that's still in my head. So here's a big one. Luca is 2, right? So obviously I want to be as healthy and active as possible to be able to do anything that he wants to do with me, right? So my son is my biggest drive. He's actually starting soccer league this weekend. He's 2, and he's already playing soccer. So I want to be able to play with him. I want to be able to run with him. If he wants to do the mud runs, right? Any event, physical event, I love mud runs too. So I want to get back to those. That was my form of competition after soccer, right? That's what kept me going forward. So I would literally book an event a year and then prepare for that event. So that's kind of long-term goal. 6-pack, obviously, for Katie. Wink, wink. She's like, I don't care. No, but Luke is the biggest driver. Yes, just make sure that I'm active, healthy. Not overweight, feeling comfortable. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I hear from both of you guys that you want to be able to move for a long, long time, and you're super competitive, and it makes you happy to be able to still do your sports. And so you guys both know like that comes with stretching, water, you know, taking care of yourselves. So what's the one thing that you're going to commit to? And I want to get this from both of you. What's the one thing that you know beyond a shadow of a doubt you can commit to? You're already committing to exercise. You're already doing water. That's amazing. You're already doing those. What's the one extra thing for both of you guys? Live on the air.
So we talk about awareness log food, right? For me personally, the most important part is sleep. Like I need to get in the habit of going to sleep earlier.
Yeah.
And what keeps you from getting enough sleep?
Myself, honestly, like my biggest hurdle. Sometimes I feel like, you know, sometimes at night it's like, oh, it's my time to disconnect from everything, and I just like extend the time where I'm going to sleep instead of, and that is because I probably am then waking up at a time and I'm rushing to get out and start the day and everything. Right, I'm not taking the time for myself. If Mandy would hear me talking about this right now, Mandy's my girlfriend. Yeah, she's always telling me that. But yeah, it is that I think one thing leads to the other, right? Like the lack of sleep, then throughout the day, sometimes after eating, I'm like, oh, I'm getting sleepy. And I think most of my, I don't have any health issues. I'm grateful that I'm extremely healthy, but you know, most of my, I don't know, issues surrounding my day-to-day, I think they would go away or diminish by getting better sleep.
I agree 100%. Sleep is where the magic happens. It's where our body rewards us from the good stuff. So let's say you were eating vegetables and you were exercising. Sleep is where your body rewards you and gives you that positive adaptation from what you're doing. And then sleep is also where we recover. So if you maybe went and had a whole bag of Doritos and a Mountain Dew and, you know, I don't know, laid on the couch, or maybe you were super stressed with your business all day, then sleep is where your body also recovers from those things. So I would agree with you. So what's the one thing you're going to do to get more sleep? Are you going to wear blue blockers like a few hours before? You already got them on. Good. Are you going to, do you have blackout curtains in your bedroom? Like, do you turn off all electronics an hour before going to sleep? Like, that's when I read my books. Okay, that one?
So that's a big one. Yes, I need to disconnect from technology. So I have the blackout room. I have a light alarm that it literally wakes me up with like, it like simulates like a sunrise pretty much. It's pretty awesome. But I gotten into the bad habit of pushing snooze lately because I'm like, I'm not waking up because I'm too tired, because I'm going to sleep way too late. So now I have my phone back in the room with the alarm and I'm pressing snooze. All these things that I've been noticing, right? That I need to, start to rewire my brain to do correctly. And I think it'll start by going to sleep early. So I like that of cutting technology maybe an hour or two before and just reading. I love reading, right? So like, yeah, I think that'll be a good one.
Whatever it is, make sure that you know beyond a shadow of a doubt you can do it for the first week every single day. So it's okay to start with 10 minutes earlier, you know? Awesome. Like it's, and then it will automatically, you'll start to pull back more and more because you celebrate what you did. You're like, okay, I turned off my electronics 15 minutes before bedtime and read a book. And now I'm celebrating that I did that. Yay, I'm so awesome. And I'm like messaging Julie on Facebook saying I did it. And actually that's on your electronics. So don't do that. Just tell your girlfriend to keep you accountable.
Write it down on your paper notepad, and then do it.
Write it on your paper. Tell your girlfriend you're going to do it. Have her celebrate with you. And then your subconscious will seek to do it earlier and earlier and earlier until you have the 1 to 2 hours, because the 1 to 2 hours might not happen at first. That is awesome. That's your one thing. I'm so glad that we got that out. Okay, BizBro number 1.
Yeah, let's go. By order of birth.
Yeah, by order of birth.
So that way we don't compromise you, Julie.
I like the disclaimer here, by order of birth.
Man, I hate that you said that first, because as I'm working, like that,
I mean, it can be the same thing.
It's the same.
Yeah.
It is really the same, because, and that's why I wanted to start with that challenge, because it makes me, I'm committed to it, so it makes me go to do that. So the first week was pretty consistent. Second week, not so much. So now it's like, okay, let's tackle, from today on, what is that going to look like? So definitely go to bed early, meaning, right, I need to, as you guys were having this conversation, I've been going through in my head, what am I going to do that? So it maybe it's my day structure, right? So we talked about the blocking and the things that I'm doing. So how can I move that in? Because same thing, I get home, right? And obviously I want to spend time with Luca. I want to kind of, like, once he goes to bed, he normally goes to bed around 7:30. It's like, okay, disconnect, what now? And really, I really enjoy catching up on YouTube a little bit, right? So what is it? Like, am I actually going to do that for a little bit? And then reading. Part of the challenge is to read as well. So I'm catching up on some books. So disconnecting from the electronics into a certain point to be able to sleep at that time. So to me, it's going to be set up that initial like goal of like going to bed and like rearrange my day so I can start executing and testing and do that. So I think that's going to be my one thing, is like rearrange my day. So when I get home, I literally have nothing to do except the play with Luca, catch up and read, and that's it. Right. I think that's going to be the one thing.
And I read in bed. So my teeth are brushed, like I'm ready to go to sleep.
Done.
And so usually I don't even make it as long. Like I'm like, okay, I have until 10 o'clock to read, and I go to like 9:30 and I'm out. So that helps me too, because
Done.
that transition from, reading and then getting ready for bed, it's like,
Yeah.
Then you're active.
Julia, what time do you wake up?
Whenever I want to, usually about 8 hours from when I go to sleep. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So awesome. I don't schedule anything. Sleep is so important to me that I don't schedule anything in the morning, just in case I had a night that was a little bit harder. So I naturally wake up 6 something. And then I do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, the Mel Robbins, shoot out of bed.
That's what I need to do. That's what I need to do. Literally. Yeah.
I love
that snooze button is my worst enemy right now.
But the key is, if I wake up 5 hours after I went to sleep, I'm going to go back to sleep, because sleep is like, I know, just like you guys are talking about, when we don't get enough sleep, everything is harder. We're less effective. It takes us 2 hours to do something it should have taken us 1 hour to do. You're not as funny when on your live videos.
Yep.
Or maybe you're funnier. Maybe you're funnier.
Were you getting sleep when you were in Georgia?
When I was getting so much sleep. Yeah, my girlfriend's family go to bed like at 8 p.m., 9 p.m. And I was like, wait, what? Is the day over? I was like, also, I'm just gonna go to sleep.
Yeah, I also like I'm going through patterns in my head, Julie. As we're having this conversation, but it's the same thing. Like whenever, for example, I love getting stuff done like early. So like I go back to my wins and I'm like, okay, sweet. I feel really good, right? So that starts in the morning. I remember, with Orange Theory, I had to open the studio 4:30 in the morning, and I was like, like 11 noon, I was out. I was done with everything I gotta do admin wise. I could either work out, help the team, continue to do that, right? And then because the environment changed, that's the thing. Like I gotta find that new footing. And in the morning, the feeling is so great because you wake up, you do whatever you gotta do, either like work wise or workout wise, right? And then you're like, sweet, like win number one. What is the next one? What is the next one? And so on, and do that. So I love it. I love everything that we've talked about today, Julie.
Julie, I'm gonna pull a reverse Uno card on you right now. What is your goal and your commitment?
Oh my goodness. Okay. I have been meditating first thing every morning. And by meditating, I mean just staring out the window. And I've been doing that for a little while. So I'm gonna ask you what you guys asked me, my fitness and health commitment or my business commitment.
Yeah, let's do your all over. Yeah, let's do the health. Let's keep it in the same trend. That was, I think.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm not trying to say that I'm doing all the things.
Yeah, right.
I feel really good about my routine. I better have it together. if I'm in this position.
I mean, if you're after like the entrepreneur journey, 20 years, and you have a team, I'm like, that's really cool, right?
Yeah,
and that's part of it. Like to see it on the other side too. One of the things is like we grow. Whatever we are, we grow, right? So like for you, I'm sure like you have this list of things that you in your head, you're like, I need to get better at that. I need to get better. Even though you are in a wonderful position because of your experience, your time, your team and stuff, right? But still, like, what is that one thing? Maybe not in fitness, right? But maybe it's publishing. I know that you started your publishing journey like not long ago. So in publishing, what is that one thing? And I think you're really doing freaking great. We've seen the show. And obviously today you've been like, oh, this is incredible conversation. So maybe in publishing?
No, you guys, in this show, I'm like, this is how I'm supposed to be doing it. I am so glad that BIZBROS invited me on. I have so many business goals. So health, fitness, meditation, like I'm feeling good about that. But business-wise, we just survived a pandemic with the gyms. We were closed 79 days. We're at 35% capacity and everyone has to wear masks right now, which we're hoping will lift within the next month. And then everything should be great. But my commitment is to be consistent in my gyms and in what we've been learning with the sales ascenders, because I'm not consistent with reach outs. I'm just not. And a week will go by and I haven't done any of the little consistent business things. Like I've done all the survival things. I've worked on my dream things, like the fun things. I'm always starting something new and I love working on those. But the consistent needle drivers, I'm not good at that yet, and I'm going to be. So that I'm committing right now to you guys. I'm going to commit to my reach outs. I'm going to do 5 because I had 20 and I fell off the wagon. So I'm going to do 5 reach outs a day.
Yes, let's go.
Let's go. We're so pumped up.
Sean and Chris, if you guys are listening, you guys should be proud.
Yeah, you should be definitely proud.
I think we should bring everybody in the sales ascenders group so they can do the commitments here publicly to the world. Right. I love it, you know, and then we could do a whole different episode for our business commitment, which, you know, Jerry, you know this, Chris and Sean, you know this, like all our like multiple coaches know this. So yeah, absolutely. Okay.
This has been amazing, Julie.
Yes.
Thank you.
So we have one last question. It's really 2, but I'm gonna take this commitment as in like the action point for people listening right now. Like think about like how do you remove the friction, right? And how you are consistent with the needle drivers, right? Like exactly what you just explained. I think that's very important. Remove the friction for everything. Like if you were trying to do 20 outreach and that's not happening, lower the number a little bit so we can start getting those wins, things that we talked about. And Julie, thank you so much for that incredible debrief that you had with us on the health and stuff, because it also sparked, you know, there's always something that we got to better, especially entrepreneurs. We have our hands in so many places, right? And then it's like, okay, because of that, how can I execute consistently, and what's the needle driver personally for us and then for the business, which is super awesome. So Julie, last question. Where would you be if you did not publish, if you didn't advertise, if you didn't share your message out there with the world on what you're doing with your business?
I feel like I would be fat and I would be working for somebody. And working for somebody isn't as bad as the other one.
There's people that doing that. But interesting.
There's nothing wrong with working somebody unless you're the worst employee ever. And that's me. Like I've never had a job and I almost tried once and I was the worst. And I like to be good at things. So there's nothing wrong with working for somebody if you're going to be good at it. Yep. And I'm just not.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I agree 100%.
And it goes back full circle to what you were doing and saying at the very beginning of the episode, which is doing what you love and what you really want and doing the workouts how you want. And it will feel the same way. Like for us, you know, we want to publish the way that we want. We want to run the business the way that we want. And we're working.
We want to have a fun podcast. Right?
We want to have a fun podcast. There we go. And, you know, lately in my head, I'm like, how can we turn this more of a talk show? Can we have these awesome structures? And so there's more stuff coming later. But anyways, freaking love it. Julie, thank you so much. How can people find you? How can people connect with you? Your branding is on point for sure. So Rhino Julie everywhere, I'm assuming. But like, where do you want to send people to get to know a little bit more about you?
So rhinojulie.com. And if anybody needs me, if you're an entrepreneur who's just suffering and you know that you need that daily support and guidance, I am doing that right now. I won't be doing it forever, but right now I'm doing it, and it's kind of a passion project. So you can email me. Julie@rhinojulie.com is my secret email address. So Julie@rhinojulie.com. Just email me direct if you really, really need that daily help, and I'll be there. But otherwise, at rhinojulie.com, connect. You can get on my Rhino Julie show, but if you're going to be on my Rhino Julie show, you have to have as much fun as the BIZBROS have.
Yeah, that's dope. I'm sure, Julie, I want to apologize in advance. Your inbox is going to explode with awesome comments saying how awesome this episode was. Just so if your servers crashed, this is why. Thank you to the Content is Profit family out there. This was incredible, Julie. Thank you so much. I can't wait to go back and re-listen to this and re-distill ideas. I'm sure our team is going to enjoy this so very much.
To stay consistent with our commitments.
Yes, that too.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Any last thoughts you want to share before we head out?
Yeah, I think the BIZBROS should definitely check in with their audience on how their consistent habits are going. No, guys, I do want to say, if anybody out there gets frustrated or hard on themselves, just remember that it's celebrating those wins that is going to help you move forward, and motivation does not happen without that celebration. So let's give ourselves a little bit of grace and get excited about what we know we can do, and then know that our subconscious is going to help pull us the rest of the way through if we just start with that.
Yes, that was so good.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you again for coming. And with that, guys, thank you so much for tuning into the Content is Profit podcast. Go ahead and subscribe. Smash that subscribe button and follow us on social media at BIZBROS Co everywhere.
That is right. And if you find this episode impactful and Julie helped you move one step closer to your goal, please don't forget to share it and leave a 5-star review. Thank you.
Bye, guys.